Hey guys, Urban Combat Survivor here. This video is about, well, it's about a lot of things, but what it's really about is starting a conversation with you guys. Hopefully starting a dialogue, a meaningful dialogue that returns a positive result for all of us. So here it goes. I made a video a while back that I think it was titled "The Rule of Law Still Counts Here." And I wasn't completely clear on everything I meant when I said that. And part of the reason is that I felt that the statement was one that needed to be made on its own. That the American U.S. rule of law still counts here. But also because I wasn't finished, and I'm still not, fleshing out a system that I plan on following. The reason I decided to make this video before I was done is because I feel like this needs to be a discussion, not just one person coming to a conclusion and passing it out there in a video to be adopted by others. So while I think certainly I could just finish up what I'm doing and put it out there, and then those who choose to could adopt it or adopt parts of it, but I think that it would be more meaningful, and I think that it would garner better results if this was a discussion. So in the interest and spirit of that, here goes. I've been working on a concept for the rule of law in case there is a breakdown of the rule of law. And I'm talking, a real breakdown, not just a riot, but, something longer term, something that makes it clear that we're going to not only have to establish but maintain over a medium or long period of time the rule of law for ourselves. The problem is, what rule of law do we establish and maintain? If you look at the U.S. legal code, or you look at the code for your town, your city, your state, it gets pretty complicated. There's a lot of laws on the books, and a lot would argue that a huge portion of what's wrong with this country is that there's so many damn laws on the books. But what I'm talking about is in your area, in your community. I think there's more of us now talking about a community. There weren't very many voices out there when I made this channel that were really talking about anything other than the kind of lone wolf mentality of, I'm going to hole up in my place and I'm going to shoot anything that comes close and I'm going to live off my stores. And really, no matter how much food you have put away, that's only sustainable for a short period of time, relatively, in the lifespan level. So now that there's more of us talking about a community thing, or at least more that I've found, have you guys thought about what rule of law you're going to establish and maintain and how you're going to do that? I know I talked about in my Safe Zones video, I talked about setting up patrols and having those patrols police internally. But what laws do they police? You could fall back on some basics, like the Ten Commandments, or some basic form like that. The problem is that there's more than just the aspect of a law and catching someone breaking it to consider. Let's say you set up something in your community, you set up something in your safe zone, in your neighborhood, in your whole town, whatever it is. As it is currently, we have a system of government in place to handle the incarceration of criminals. What if you have someone in your area that commits a pretty bad crime? What do you do with that person? It's easy to say, something extreme, but the reality is there's going to be a consequence no matter how you handle that. So how are you planning on handling it? Is it something you've thought about already? Let's say you have somebody who, breaks into someone that works their way into your safe area, your community, your safe zone. and you catch them stealing provisions, stealing seed, stealing food. You know, not just a bite, but enough that they're going to run off with it, and you catch them. What's a proper punishment for that? What's the crime for that? Yeah, that can fall generically under theft, and I really think if we are establishing safe zones and rules of law, that we're going to have to go to the basics. No murder, no assault, no rape, no theft. We're going to have to go back to these basic things. But how are you going to enforce those laws? Have you thought about this? How are you going to render punishment and judgment if these people are caught doing these things? Thieves they're pretty slick. That guy taking that food might say, well, I was just moving it because I thought I saw a rat in there. There were rats. The rats were doing it. I was saving the food. Really? What do? You're going to have some system set up. Fortunately, we already have one right now under the rule of law. But are you really going to have 3 competent people to act as a prosecutor, a defender, and a judge? And then on top of that, are you going to have 12 people? So now you're looking at 15 people that you have to pull out of your community situation, your defense, your food growth, your long-term sustained work to have some kind of trial. Are you going to do that? Doesn't seem plausible. Not until down the road when safe zones and communities start being able to connect and form larger safe areas, safe regions. Until that happens, how do you handle these people? Have you thought about this? I mean, the easy thing to say is, well, you can kill them for this, and you can evict them from your safe area, your safe community for that. Well, now you've got to deal with a lot of things. Let's say you decide to kick someone out who's a rapist or a thug or criminal, an assault, something, and rather than kill them, you feel the crime isn't enough for execution, so you kick them out of your safe area. You kick them out of your community. Well, now they know where everything is. They've become realistically a security threat. They know where your patrols normally operate, how they normally operate, how many men or women or both are in your patrols. They know where some, at least, of your food stores are. They know the ground. They know the lay of the land. So you're putting yourself at risk if you simply extradite them from your community. So what kind of system of law, if you're looking at doing something on a larger scale than just your household, what kind of law are you looking at establishing and maintaining? Have you thought on this? I tried to look for examples of basic legal systems out there, and the reality is there's nothing really appropriate. There's always some system, some system that is either dependent on a larger system and a larger support structure behind it, or it's dependent on the concept of a really close-knit tribal style community. There's really nothing that I've been able to come across yet. I'm going to keep looking certainly, and I hope if you guys know one, toss it my way, please. But there's really nothing that's kind of clear, simple, defined, basic law. And in order to establish any kind of safe zone or safe community or safe area, eventually you're going to have to come up with laws. So I thought it'd be a good idea to have something already in place in my head, at least, before that. But you start running into problems. How do you handle this? How do you handle that? How do you handle that person who has committed a crime egregious enough that it needs to be addressed, it needs to be punished, it needs to be looked at, because it's now a threat on one level or another to your safe area, your community. But not so much that you can expel them or kill them. What are you going to do in that situation? There's the concept of labor. You could make them work. You can make them work that off. But isn't everybody going to be working their ass off already? So, what form of punishment would be both appropriate to the crime committed and still protect those in the community? It's a tough question. So this is why villages would have legal counsel. They'd have councils set up. They'd have, whether it was just elders or whatever it was. What are you going to have set up for this? Like I said, I hope this causes a discussion and maybe some conventions to be come up with. Something basic, I don't think it can get too complicated. Depending on your situation, I think it needs to be something simple, to the point, straightforward, something that can be easily understood by everybody involved, and something that can be easily enforced, or at least, maybe not easily enforced, because laws are never easy to enforce, but something that's not going to be some crazy restrictive thing, just simple stuff. If you do this, there is a consequence, and here's what that consequence is. If you steal from someone, you're going to have to not only make reparations for what you stole, you're going to have to pay back 10 times that to the community, 2 times that to the person you stole from, and 5 times to the community. How do you do that? And in a situation where there's no real rule of law outside of your area, or at least not immediately outside, how do you enforce this if this person can't produce enough goods to do that? Do you make them work it off? Again, everybody's already working really hard. So, I don't know, how do you do it? Something I've been thinking about a lot, something I've been trying to work out systems for. And rather than put any of the stuff that I've come up with on here, I'm just going to pose this all as questions. Hopefully you people, those that are interested will think about it and maybe start a discussion and see where it goes from there. Urban Combat Survivor, signing off.